What's going on, everyone? James Hancock here. I'm back to review episode 4 of season 5 of The Expanse, my favorite episode yet this season. If you have not watched the episode yet, definitely go ahead and do so because I'll be going heavily into spoilers. But in broad strokes, what I loved about this episode is how successfully it captured the strange mix of terror and exhilaration as we see Marco and Nars's plans start to unfold. A great epic saga, whether you're talking about fantasy or history or science fiction, no matter what the genre, a great story needs stakes, and the stakes in this conflict could not be any more severe. On one hand, we're horrified as we watch millions die and the planet Earth is thrown into complete and total chaos and turmoil. On the other hand, it's always a thrill for me watching a diabolical villain successfully roll out their plan, one that will put our heroes through their toughest challenges yet in this entire science fiction saga. And while emotionally I'm obviously rooting for our heroes, that said, I love a good, well-crafted villain. One where we can totally appreciate his point of view, even if we don't agree with it. And Marco and Nars, he feels as if the belt has been under the boot heel of Mars and Earth for far too long, and now he's pushing back. And Mars and Earth, they've hated each other for so long and become so complacent with their technological superiority that they've never dreamed an attack on this scale could be launched against them, or that they might even share a common enemy. Even as the rocks start falling out of the sky and cities start to be destroyed, even then they can't accept the evidence that's staring them square in the face. Or at least no one except for Avasarala can grasp the magnitude of what Anaris has achieved. So, as a colossal fan of Nemesis games, Book 5 in the amazing series by James S.A. Corey, aka Daniel Abraham and Ty Frank, I'll simply say that this was one of the most satisfying episodes for me from all 5 seasons. But before I go any further, I want to press pause for some quick news and announcements related to the show. In my last video, I indulged in some speculation about the future of the show, and much of my speculation has turned out to be wrong. I know what you must be thinking. A YouTuber got something wrong. Shocker. In any event, writer Ty Frank, one half of the James S.A. Corey duo, was kind enough to leave a note in my last video clarifying their future plans for the show, because I originally hypothesized that because season 6 is the final season, that perhaps the show might incorporate material from books 7 and 9 in order to give the show something resembling a proper ending. But Frank replied very directly, no, we're not doing books 7 and 9 in season 6. Season 6 is only book 6. And then last week, Frank and Abraham, along with showrunner Naren Shankar, they gave an interview to Collider where they clarified a lot of the things that I've been wondering about. They didn't even know that Amazon was giving them a season 6 until they were deep into post-production on season 5. The interviewer had a lot of the same questions that I had, and first they asked, are you planning how to coordinate the end of the book with the end of the TV series? To which they replied, coordinate it? No. Oh God, no. It looks like we're probably going to have the last book come out pretty close to when season 6 drops, and that's just a happy coincidence. Then the interviewer asked, but I guess the big question is, how closely will the events of the final book parallel the events in the final episodes? To which they reply, not at all, because we're ending the show in season 6, which is book 6, and the final book is book 9, and at this point the showrunner Shankar adds, season 6 would have to be about 45 episodes long. And the interviewer continues, it's either 45 episodes long or it's a very compressed version of that story. Could you do that? And Frank replies, I don't know that there is a way to gracefully do that. I think that would be a challenge. Shankar continues, I don't know if we'd want to do that. We've compressed before. In season 3, we compressed 2 novels, essentially a good bulk of 1 novel, and then the entirety of Abaddon's Gate into the back end of the season. I don't know if it's something you'd want to do with books 7, 8, 9. And finally, Abraham closes by saying, and there's something to be said also for doing this part of the story well. And then, ... the IP is not dead. It's not gone away. If there are other options later, then there are other options later. So there you have it. The IP is not dead. It's not gone away. It sounds to me like the show will pause and possibly return later to adapt the remaining 3 books, or perhaps they could be adapted as a trilogy of films. For those who don't know, the last 3 books jump ahead a few decades and deal with a fresh challenge that season 5 and season 6 will introduce, but I can't really go any further without divulging some spoilers. And with that in mind, let's just focus on the events of this episode, which was written by Dan Nowak, or is it pronounced Novak? I'm not entirely sure. Let's just say Dan, who's one of the main writers of this season. He also wrote episode 3, as well as the upcoming 7th and 8th episodes of this season. And I'm a big fan of his style of storytelling. This episode in particular had this incredible sense of forward momentum. Almost as if no matter what our heroes do, try as they might, they're always one step behind what is rapidly materializing as a grand conspiracy. A conspiracy that eventually culminates in the announcement that Marco's Free Navy is now a major power in the solar system, one where if their authority is either questioned or challenged, they will unleash the full destructive power of the proto-molecule, which they have successfully stolen from Tycho Station. In terms of cliffhangers, you really couldn't ask for more. In terms of highlights and details to keep in mind, here are some of the most important in my eyes. Alex realizes that within the Martian Congressional Republic Navy, that it's infested with corruption, crooks, and hidden agendas, and that the long-term project and viability of Mars as a planet is likely to fail due to this internal division. I really can't say more until we get deeper into the season. We also see that Avasarala is the only person with the wits to understand what Marco Inaris is truly up to. Using the stealth technology that Philip stole to disguise incoming asteroids, which they set in motion, and even as she tries to warn Earth that it's under attack, bureaucrats stubbornly refuse to take her calls. If the consequences weren't so horrible, we could take some satisfaction in knowing that many of these same dumbasses perished in the attack, an attack that is still ongoing. All is not lost, however, and she successfully rallies some of Earth's defenses to shoot down at least one giant asteroid. I believe 3 asteroids have hit so far, causing mass devastation, which directly impacts Amos as he visits Clarissa Mao in the pit. I thought the scene was absolutely fascinating. The pit's this facility designed to contain enhanced and modified inmates, basically supervillains. And because removing their mods would kill them, they're given blockers to keep them subdued. In any event, Amos feels a kinship with Peaches. They're both killers, and he knows it, but he wants to help her the way that he was helped. And while he doesn't completely spell it out, clearly his relationship with Holden and the rest of the crew in the Rocinante has given him the focus and the purpose that he needs so that all of his killing instincts can be given a proper direction. But for my money, the relationship between Amos and Peaches is one of my favorite ingredients of the entire Expanse saga. This idea that even the most hardcore killers imaginable, even they are not beyond redemption. But we're going to have to wait until next week to see what happens after the pit goes on full lockdown due to the attack. The great James Holden finally gets in on the action as well this episode when Tycho Station is outright attacked. With the help of Monica and Fred Johnson, they do their best to mount a defense, but the response is just too little, too late. Fred Johnson gets outright assassinated, which is a serious departure from the books, where Fred stuck around well into book 6. But I totally understand that at this point the show's trying to streamline and condense the plot, but I will miss Chad Coleman, who's always been one of my favorite parts of the show. But even worse than losing Fred, the last sample of the proto-molecule gets stolen, raising the stakes of this fight to a potentially existential threat to every single person still living in this solar system. And I'd love to say more, but as always, if you want to know some more information on this front, the books are out there to be enjoyed by anyone who wants to dig in. And the episode draws to a close with Naomi's, let's just call it, strained family reunion with Philip and Marco. She's not down with his grand vision for his free navy at all. But for now, she remains their captive. Marco believes that he's freed the belt from tyranny, and he celebrates his great victory with the sun as he announces to the entire solar system his vision for the future, namely that he'll be seeking revenge for past atrocities against the belt. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if some viewers, or many viewers out there, found themselves cheering on his behalf, because that's what makes a truly great villain. One that you can root for, even if you're kind of secretly hoping for their eventual downfall. And that's just one of many ingredients that makes this show so chilling and so exciting to watch. Any sci-fi fans out there who are not watching this show are simply missing out on one of the most exciting sci-fi concepts of the last decade. So that's all I have for now. I look forward to continuing this discussion about The Expanse next week. Hope everyone out there has something fun planned for the holiday. If you're looking for gift ideas, hand out copies of the first book in the series, Leviathan Wakes. It absolutely rocks. And if you've never read the books but love the show, what are you waiting for? You have 8 great books, tons of novellas, and one final novel on the way. So if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and if you want to talk more, you can always find me on Twitter @Colbrax. But thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. But more importantly, as always, onwards and upwards.